Welcome back to the Punch channel. This is turn 4, Soviet turn 4 to be precise. This is the game Belyy, part of the Silent Dead series, an upcoming title by Legion Wargames, and the designer is Greg Blanchett. This is the western portion of the Soviet counterattack called Operation Mars in November of 1942. So we are looking at, let's see, we happen to be on turn 4, that is 28 November. So things are continuing to move mostly in the direction that the Soviets want them to. And let's zoom in on the action. So in the Belyy sector, we can see that, here we go, there, right. So we can see that the Soviets have taken the hex right here. They've done a pretty good job. Their other attacks were rebuffed, but with the loss of German casualties. So the Germans are holding Belyy, but the Soviets are definitely chipping away at the defenses. One thing that I noticed was that the Germans did not, as the German player, I chose not to garrison this entrenchment hex, and so that allowed the Soviets to come up, occupy that hex, and thus render the artillery unit ineffective during the turn. So, important safety tip, you probably want to garrison this hex. All right, coming further out, you'll note that I moved forward. Let's see, I moved forward the 41st Army headquarters. I had to come off the road to do it because of the restrictions on headquarters movement. I needed to stay at least 3 hexes away from the German units. Would have preferred to keep it on the road, but I saw nothing in the rules that required me to be on the road. The only thing was that they needed to be able to trace a supply line, which they could certainly do to 1 hex, as the zone of control of this unit only extends out this far. So other attacks. The ski unit right here was driven back. They took casualties, quite considerable casualties, and then 3 hexes of retreat, and I chose to retain the cadre unit. Over here, the final 2nd Luftwaffe unit has been reduced to cadre and driven out of the entrenchments in the vicinity of Demekhi. So the entire southern defensive front has basically collapsed. One bright spot was that the 3rd of the 41st 10th Motorized held firm and rebuffed the attack by 37th Mech Brigade, causing a retreat. Another bright spot was an unsupported, no, I think that was a support, yep, that was a supported attack. A supported attack by the 75th Rifle Brigade was similarly held at bay by the SS unit here, and the Soviets took a casualty. Okay, bigger picture. 2nd Mechanized Corps is across the Nacha River along the road, and they're in the vicinity of Svetlovo. So we have quite a conundrum here coming up, because these units are free to, at the moment, they are free to rampage around to the east and occupy victory point locations, which is a very interesting thing for them to do. So fortunately, 1st Panzer is not entirely tied down at the moment, but they are going to have to inject some forces into Belyy in order to hold the town. And so we'll just see what happens with the Germans. It's looking more and more like the Soviets, at least at this phase of the game, are definitely in control. I would also remark that given the reinforcement rules of the game, we have reinforcements coming up next turn, a couple of units here and here, and that will be welcome for the German player. But the question is going to be, the Germans start to get real reinforcements on turn 6. They get this entire SS cavalry division coming up either from this hex or from this hex. The interesting thing is I believe there's one unit coming in here in the German turn and one here. Can they hold off? Because if I can occupy or throw a zone of control as the Soviet across these hexes, that prevents, particularly at these hexes, this prevents, or rather delays the reinforcements by one turn. And in a 10-turn game, that can be very significant. Additionally, we have the turn 7. It's going to be very easy for me to get, bear with me, to get some of these units from up here. Let me try this a little bit easier here. So it's not going to be hard at all for me to take some of the units from here and put them down there in that direction and cover that reinforcement hex, thus delaying the turn 7 reinforcements to turn 8. So, you know, some interesting dynamics at play. I'm looking forward to see how they play out. But this is quite the bit of force here coming up on turn 7, even if they are delayed on turn 8. We'll just see what happens, I think. The problem being that I don't think the Germans have the force. Let's take this out of here. I don't think the Germans have the force available to them in the Belyy area to take any of the German, Soviet victory locations. Let's throw out here. I believe there's one here. So the victory locations for the Germans would be Belyy, Cherepi, and Tarakonovo. So I don't think that they have the force to do it, and I am somewhat in doubt that the Germans will have enough force coming in as reinforcements to take those either. So we would be dealing with the Soviet victory conditions, and I think that the Soviets, come on, here we go. I think the Soviets could mount a credible defense, holding just enough to keep supply in the center, and then holding probably, I'm gonna mess up this name for sure, Berkovye, yeah, Berkovye, and possibly Shepkovo. I think that they could hold those fairly well, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what's going on here. They'll get strung out, that's for sure, and we'll see if things develop as they did historically. All right, that's the news, and we'll see what the beginnings of the German response look like in the upcoming German turn. Thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it, and we'll see you down the road.